Every day, tens of thousands of people across Africa leave their villages and move to cities. They come for work, for schools, for safety, for the possibility, however uncertain, that the city holds something their village cannot. And every day, those cities, built for populations that existed decades ago, strain under the weight of that arrival. In Burkina Faso, that strain has been compounded by something even more devastating than urbanization: war. Since 2015, a jihadist insurgency has torn through the country's north and east, displacing millions of families from their homes. Entire villages emptied overnight, farms abandoned, communities shattered. By the end of 2024, over 2 million people were internally displaced within Burkina Faso's borders alone. 2 million people, most of them women and children, with nowhere permanent to live. It is into this reality that Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso's military leader since September 2022, has launched the most ambitious housing program the country has ever attempted. 50,000 homes, a program named Dinu Kasu, meaning in More, let us build our homes. To understand why Ibrahim Traoré is building thousands of homes, you first need to understand the scale of the problem he is trying to solve. Because this is not simply a question of ambition. It is a response to a crisis that has been building for decades and that the insurgency has pushed into outright emergency. Let us start with the continent-wide picture. Every single day, 40,000 people migrate to African cities, according to UN Habitat. Every single day. That is the equivalent of a mid-sized town arriving, with its families, its children, its elderly, at Africa's urban doorsteps every 24 hours. By 2050, an additional 700 million people are projected to live in African cities. The United Nations estimates that if current trends continue, the continental housing deficit will reach 130 million units by 2030. Africa currently faces a shortfall of at least 51 million housing units. In sub-Saharan Africa, households spend on average 43.5% of their income on shelter, leaving almost nothing for food, schooling, or healthcare. And in Burkina Faso, one of the continent's poorest and most rapidly urbanizing countries, these continent-wide pressures arrive at a country with very limited capacity to absorb them. Between 2007 and 2017, the Burkinabè state produced only 5,000 housing units over an entire decade. Between 2017 and 2022, a program that aimed to build 40,000 units managed to complete just 7,227. The cheapest formal home in the country costs 7.5 million CFA francs, roughly $12,294, in a country where the average monthly salary is approximately $156. At the maximum recommended mortgage repayment rate, buying the cheapest available home would take a Burkinabè worker more than 20 years to pay off. For most citizens, formal housing is simply not financially accessible at all, in any realistic scenario. Most people build their own homes, gradually, incrementally from savings, using banco, the traditional compressed earth brick that remains the most common building material in the country. 53% of homes in Burkina Faso are built with banco. It is resilient, affordable, and entirely local. But when 2 million people are violently displaced from their homes, they don't have the savings, they don't have the time, they barely have the ground to stand on. As of March 2023, over 2,062,534 people were internally displaced in Burkina Faso. Over 53% of them are women, 60% are children under 15 years old. These are not statistics. These are families who went to sleep in their homes one night and never went back. This is the crisis Ibrahim Traoré inherited when he took power in September 2022. Not a housing challenge, a housing emergency, embedded inside a security emergency, embedded inside a poverty emergency. And this is what he decided, in July 2024, to begin building a direct response to. Before we examine what Traoré is building today, we need to look back, because the vision driving this housing program does not begin in 2024. It begins in 1983. When Thomas Sankara came to power, Burkina Faso was a country where slums dominated the capital, where ordinary people had no realistic path to formal shelter, and where whatever little existed was concentrated in the hands of a small elite. His approach was direct and immediate.
Sankara declared that housing was not a commodity, it was a right. He set up brick factories across the country, using local clay and local labor, with the explicit purpose of building homes for ordinary Burkinabè, not to sell, but to live in. He connected housing to a broader philosophy, that Burkina Faso should build with what it had, not import what it couldn't afford. That local materials, local skills, and collective effort were not poverty, they were dignity. The housing program was one part of a larger transformation. School attendance jumped from 6% to 22% in 4 years. Over 2.5 million children were vaccinated. Thousands of health centers opened across the country. 10 million trees were planted. A country on the bottom of nearly every development index, moving with determination in the right direction. And then, in October 1987, it stopped. A bullet ended it. In October 2023, on the 36th anniversary of Sankara's assassination, Traoré's government renamed Ouagadougou's main boulevard from Boulevard Général Charles de Gaulle, named after the French general, to Boulevard Thomas Sankara. It was not a neutral gesture, it was a declaration of lineage. The man who is building thousands of homes today is not starting from nothing. He is continuing, in a different time, under different circumstances, a project that was violently interrupted almost 4 decades ago. Let us be precise about what the Traoré government has actually launched, because precision matters enormously here. The viral claims on social media have, at times, run far ahead of the facts. The goal of this chapter is to separate the genuine program from the exaggeration and to show that the genuine program is already significant on its own terms. The program, Burkina Faso Din Kasu. This program, confirmed in official documentation from the Ministry of Urban Planning, Land Affairs and Housing, covers the period 2024 to 2028. Its target is the construction of 50,000 housing units across Burkina Faso. Those 50,000 units break down into 2 categories: 39,904 social housing units, lower-cost homes intended for the most vulnerable and lowest-income Burkinabè, including internally displaced families. 10,096 economic housing units, affordable homes for workers and middle-income households who currently cannot access the formal housing market. The program is not purely state-funded. It is designed as a mixed public-private model. Real estate developers will participate in the construction of approximately 6,202 social housing units and 1,462 economic housing units, with the government offering tax exemptions and incentives to make their participation viable. Banks and financial institutions will be responsible for financing both the supply, construction lending, and the demand side, mortgages and home loans for buyers. The launch came on July 12, 2024. The government initiated a special operation targeting 1,000 homes across 4 regions, the first phase of the wider program, focused specifically on internally displaced persons and other vulnerable groups. The distribution of those first 1,000 homes. These sites were chosen deliberately. The Center-North region, which received the largest allocation, is one of the areas most severely affected by jihadist violence and displacement. It is not enough, but it is a start. And it is targeted at the people with the most urgent need. The homes being built under the National Housing Construction Program, the PNCL, are modest but livable.
A standard unit includes 2 bedrooms, a living room, a kitchen, and internal toilets, with a built-up area of 56 to 68 square meters on a minimum plot of 204 square meters. They are not luxury, they are not large, but they are permanent. They are structurally sound. And for 2 million people living in temporary shelters, that means something no statistic can fully capture. December 2024 brought an additional reform that underlines the seriousness of the approach. Traoré directed the Ministry of Housing to oversee all public project phases, ensuring that construction adheres to technical, environmental, and safety standards. An attempt to fix the coordination failures and quality gaps that plagued earlier programs. It is important to note what the Minister of Urban Planning confirmed directly when asked.
The homes being built are social housing, heavily subsidized for low-income families. The government's goal is to make them accessible. Whether they will be entirely free is still under deliberation. The minister confirmed that the program is still in phases, and the final terms of access will be announced as construction progresses. What is confirmed? Building is underway. The program is real. The ambition is genuine. And the first 226 units built between October 2023 and August 2024 under the PNCL have already been completed. Across Africa, at least 51 million housing units are currently needed. Nigeria alone faces a shortage of 28 million units. Egypt, 19.5 million units. Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, and South Africa face shortfalls of millions more. In sub-Saharan Africa, 55% of households spend more than 30% of their income on rent. That is more than half the population, spending over a third of what they earn just to keep a roof over their heads. The result is visible in every major African city. Informal settlements, what the world calls slums, where tens of millions of people live in conditions that are overcrowded, underserviced, and structurally insecure. Not because they are lazy, not because they lack ambition, but because the formal housing system was never built for them. It was built for people who earn more, who can access credit, who can navigate bureaucracy, who have collateral. Most Africans have none of those things. And here is the arithmetic that makes this so urgent. Africa's population is expected to reach 2.5 billion by 2050. Its working-age population will nearly double. Young Africans are the most rapidly urbanizing population on Earth. They will need homes. They will need schools beside those homes, clinics, markets, roads, electricity. If that urbanization happens in informal settlements, in the absence of deliberate policy, the consequences compound across generations, for education, for health, for economic productivity, for the dignity of an entire generation. What Traoré is attempting, imperfectly in a country at war, with limited resources and enormous competing demands, is to say that the state has a responsibility to build for the people who cannot build for themselves. That is not a novel idea. It is actually an old idea, one that was standard policy in post-war Europe, in Singapore, in South Korea, countries that built their way out of housing crises through deliberate state-led programs. The difference is that Africa has rarely been allowed the conditions to attempt it, because conditions of stability, resource sovereignty, and political will have rarely aligned. And across the continent, people are watching. This script has been built on verified facts from the Center for Affordable Housing Finance in Africa, the Ministry of Urban Planning, international humanitarian organizations, and independent journalism. It is important, before the outro, to be clear about what we know, what we don't, and where the risks are. What is confirmed? The Dinwu Kasu program is real.
It is a government-approved framework targeting 50,000 homes between 2024 and 2028. The first phase, 1,000 homes for displaced persons, was officially launched on July 12, 2024. Between October 2023 and August 2024, 226 housing units were completed under the PNCL, with the cheapest costing 7.5 million CFA. The Ministry of Housing has been repositioned to oversee construction quality. The model involves both public investment and private developer participation. What is not confirmed: viral social media claims that Traoré is building homes and distributing them completely for free have been investigated by fact-checkers including PesaCheck and directly denied by the Minister of Urban Planning himself, who stated in June 2025, the government intends to build social housing by the end of 2029. We cannot say whether the houses will be given free of charge. Several viral videos claiming to show Traoré's housing projects in Burkina Faso have been fact-checked and identified as footage from China, Algeria, and other countries, circulating under false labels. The honest picture is this: the program is real, but it is at an early stage, and the target of 50,000 homes by 2028 is ambitious for a country at war, with limited fiscal capacity and without the infrastructure to absorb large-scale construction easily. The first 1,000 emergency homes are under construction, but 1,000 homes for 2 million displaced people is not a solution. It is a first step. The social housing is subsidized, but whether it will be free or low cost is still under deliberation. And the context must always be remembered. Burkina Faso is a country where 40% of territory is estimated to be outside government control, where jihadist violence is ongoing and intensifying in some regions, where the displacement crisis is growing faster than any housing program can currently address it. Building 50,000 homes while fighting an insurgency, with a budget constrained by war costs, in a country ranked 185th out of 193 on the Human Development Index, is an act of extraordinary political will. It is also, in scale, still insufficient relative to the need. Both things are true. And what is also true is that a government building any homes for the people who were left with nothing is not a small thing. For the family that moves from a tarpaulin tent into a two-bedroom home, the gap between 50,000 and 2 million is not the immediate reality. The roof is. Ibrahim Traoré is building homes in Burkina Faso because the people of Burkina Faso need them. Because 2 million people have been displaced by a war that has already taken everything else from them. Because the cheapest formal home in the country costs more than a worker can earn in 20 years of repayments. Because the continent's cities are absorbing 40,000 new arrivals every single day, and the housing systems were built for a different era. He is also building homes because Thomas Sankara believed that housing was a right, and because Traoré has claimed Sankara's legacy as his own. Whether the program delivers its full 50,000 units by 2028, in a country still at war, still rebuilding, still navigating an enormous humanitarian crisis, remains to be seen. But the bricks are being laid, the foundations are being poured. And for millions of people watching across Africa, in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Kenya, in South Africa, the sight of an African leader building homes for the displaced without waiting for permission from the World Bank or the IMF or any foreign institution is not just housing policy. It is a statement. What that statement becomes, whether it fulfills its promise or falls short of it, is the story that the coming years will write.